in the quiet town of Redwood Falls. Prejudice didn't scream, it whispered. But when a white teenage gang began targeting the black families living there, one woman's silence turned to steel. Jordan Miles, a former Army sergeant and single mother, had seen war zones less tense than her neighborhood. When the gang harassed her teenage daughter, Ari, and young son, Caleb, they expected her to cower. But Jordan had spent years leading soldiers in combat. Fear had long since stopped shaking her hands. The morning started like any other. Jordan moved through her modest kitchen with the precision of a soldier, flipping bacon, checking the security feed on her tablet, and calling 5 minutes till breakfast. Upstairs, Ari grabbed her gym bag, while Caleb tumbled down in dinosaur pajamas. Everything in Jordan's life ran on routine. Color-coded calendars, mental threat assessments, school pickups timed to the minute. But where her elderly neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, stopped her outside with grim news, the day shifted. More vandalism, he said quietly. Spray paint, broken windows, same symbols I saw back in the 60s. Jordan's jaw tightened. The Fergusons, the only other black family on their street, had just been hit. I'll keep watch, she promised. Later that day, the cracks widened. At the local supermarket, a security guard shadowed them. A deli worker ignored them. Other shoppers clutched their purses. Jordan kept calm, noting names and badge numbers in her phone, her daughter watching her every move. On the way home, they took a shortcut. That's when trouble found them that a group of boys blocked the alley. 5 in all. One wore a school letterman jacket. Logan Davis, the sheriff's son. Another, Jordan recognized from a grocery store. Jake Matthews, son of the rude deli worker. Well, Logan smirked. Look at the little field trip group. Ari stepped in front of Caleb. Leave us alone. They didn't. Caleb's bag spilled. Apples rolled. The boys jeered. Logan pushed him. Then Jordan's SUV came roaring around the corner, lights blazing. She stepped out, calm but deadly. Step away from my children. You threatening us? One asked. Filming. No. I'm promising consequences, she said, naming names, calling out their parents, and reminding Logan that hate crime charges stick harder than teenage pride. The boys backed off. That night, a video of the incident went viral. The town's social media turned into a battleground. Some accused Jordan of overreacting. Others called her a hero. She documented every detail, locations, quotes, names, and emailed it to her lawyer, school administrators, and civil rights advocates. But it wasn't over. Later that night, Jordan spotted a dark Chrysler idling on the street. Security footage was wiped clean, cameras jammed, and left on her porch a single white rose, just like the one found at the burned-down home of a black family who left town 3 years prior. Jordan didn't flinch. She called her attorney, Elena Torres, and her neighbor, Mr. Reynolds, who'd caught the mass intruder on camera. Someone wasn't just watching. They were planning. Jordan began organizing, calling contacts, reaching out to journalists, because this time they picked the wrong mother. And she wasn't going anywhere at BY morning. The white rose still sat on the porch, its petals untouched, but its message unmistakable. Jordan picked it up with gloves, placed it in a Ziploc bag, and labeled it like she used to do with battlefield evidence. This wasn't just intimidation, it was escalation. Inside, Ari sat silently, scrolling through messages. Mom, they're saying I made the whole thing up, that I staged it for attention. Jordan took a breath, suppressing the fury clawing at her chest. That's how they flip the story, baby. First they hurt you, then they make you explain why you were bleeding. Caleb was unusually quiet, eating cereal without his usual dinosaur impressions. Jordan ruffled his hair. We're safe, and we're going to keep it that way. She drove straight to the sheriff's office. At the front desk, she was met with blank stares and long silences. I need to speak to Sheriff Davis, she said firmly. He's in a meeting, the receptionist mumbled. Good. I'll wait. It took 43 minutes. When the sheriff finally emerged, Jordan stood. Your son put his hands on my kids. I have footage. I have names. I have witnesses. Sheriff Davis rubbed his jaw. Look, Jordan, boys get into scraps. Let's not make this more than it is. Jordan leaned in. It became more the moment your son used a racial slur and pushed a 9-year-old. That's not a scrap. That's assault with a hate crime enhancement. The sheriff's eyes narrowed. You're not from around here. You don't get how things work. Jordan didn't blink. Actually, I do. I've seen what happens when people let fear stop them from doing the right thing. But I'm not afraid. Back home, Jordan got to work. She uploaded every clip, every screenshot, every voice memo she had into a shared Google Drive. Then she emailed a link to a civil rights reporter at the Houston Chronicle, her lawyer, 3 military buddies now working in law and media, the principal of Ari's school, the NAACP. That evening, Mr. Reynolds came by with a flash drive. "This is from my backup camera system," he said. "Caught everything. The guy in the mask, he's got a limp. Right leg drags a little. You can see it clearly." Jordan smiled for the first time in 2 days. But peace didn't last. That night at 2:14 a.m., someone threw a brick through their living room window. It didn't shatter glass. It shattered the last line between watching and fighting back. Jordan called the police. They took 42 minutes to arrive. A young officer shrugged. "Could be kids messing around." Jordan replied, cold and clear, "No, this is targeted. And if the law won't protect us, I will." She boarded the window herself, posted the video to Facebook, and added the caption, "They think this will silence us. But this is only the beginning." The post had 87,000 views by sunrise. Jordan poured her coffee. War had come home, but this time she was a front line. By Thursday evening, Jordan sat alone on the porch. Candle wax still melted into the pavement from the silent vigil the night before. She hadn't slept much, not since the CPS call. She knew what this was. They couldn't silence her with threats. So now they were trying shame. Strip her of her children, her voice, her credibility. The same playbook, generation after generation. Just cleaner fonts and digital signatures. But Jordan Miles had faced down worse enemies in foreign deserts. These ones wore collared shirts and good manners, but their weapons were just as sharp. She poured a second cup of coffee, just as a black sedan pulled into her driveway. 2 CPS agents stepped out. One older, white, stiff-backed. The other, young, brown-skinned, eyes scanning everything. Jordan opened the door before they knocked. "We received a complaint," the older agent said, holding a clipboard. "Allegations of instability, unsafe environment." "I know," she said. "You're not the first visitors this week trying to shake this house." The younger agent glanced at the neat living room, walls lined with books, a calendar with Ari's debate schedule, Caleb's art projects taped proudly to the fridge. "We're required to check." "You're welcome to," she said calmly, stepping aside. They walked through the house, noting every detail. Ari spoke clearly, firmly. Caleb offered them juice boxes. 10 minutes later, as they prepared to leave, the young agent paused. "I saw your video," she said softly. "My mom cried, said she wished someone like you lived on our block when she was growing up." Jordan just nodded. Later that night, as quiet fell again, her phone buzzed. It was Elena. "The complaint's dismissed," she said. "They tried to drag your name, but it didn't stick. Too many eyes on them now." Jordan looked out the window. Across the street, porch lights were on that hadn't been on in weeks. Fear was still there, but so was fire. The next morning, Sheriff Davis released his resignation letter to focus on family matters. It read, but everyone knew why. And by Sunday, Unity Baptist overflowed with people. Families who hadn't come in years. Neighbors who'd once crossed the street now brought casseroles and signed petitions. Near the altar, Pastor Lorraine announced, "We've created a new neighborhood council, and our first chairperson unanimously voted Ms. Jordan Miles." Applause shook the ceiling. Jordan stepped up slowly. She wasn't a politician. She didn't want to be. But she looked at Ari, holding Caleb's hand in the front pew. She thought about Mr. Reynolds, filming from the back, and the brick still sitting on her shelf like a reminder. "This started with hate," she said, "but it ends with us standing, together, not because we're fearless, but because we're finally done being quiet. And with that, she stepped down, not as a victim, not even just as a mother, but as a leader, because in Redwood Falls, one woman's refusal to flinch had cracked open the silence and let the light flood in,